FAB-Racing.
Great to see a huge grid here at Red Lodge. So even towards the end of the season, when a lot of these riders don't have anything to ride for, look at that, all filtering it out on circuit, and they're going to have to make their way through. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be Rossi Banham leading away at the front, who's ending the season pretty nicely.
Yeah, you can just see him there on the grid trying to get as much heat into that rear tyre as possible. He said he was struggling to get heat into his tyres earlier today, but it definitely hasn't been hindering him because he's on pole position ahead of Richard Holmes-Williams, and a 48.5 puts him in a very good place going into this race. But of course, now this one is going to be a bit more wet and slippery compared to what they were in earlier on. But you can see all through this grid, these bikes going right down even into the final corner. The grid is that big that we almost don't even have enough grid slots for all these riders as they all line up towards the back of this grid. But it is Rossi Banham who is on that pole position with Richard Holmes-Williams in second, and Taylor Lawrence is third on the grid with the number 10 machine. He's a rider we've seen really come into his own later in this season. Alfie Davidson is in fourth ahead of Reece Stevenson in fifth. Jamie King, last year's champion, in sixth ahead of Bernie Hook in seventh. Reece Peacock in eighth ahead of Darren Anderson in ninth. Chris Wells in 10th ahead of Eddie O'Shea, all the way down in 11th, not what we're used to seeing from him. Jack Andrews is in 12th ahead of Marco Pandolfo in 13th. Paul Histon in 14th ahead of Adam Sweeney, Nathan Riggy, Elliot Crosby, Ian Jackson, Callum Beach and Giorgio Scalata rounding out your top 20. Looking further back, Simon Clowes lines up on 21st ahead of Harrison Crosby, and Kevin Gritton in 24th ahead of Eden Katz, Scott Jute in 26th ahead of Frankie Carlton in 27th, Alistair Kennard in 28th ahead of Roger Monks in 29th, Andy Davidson in 30th, Aston Gilson in 31st ahead of Vince Bailey in 32nd, Phil Mapplebeck, Phil Joyce, Paul Coombs, Jamie Milan round out the top 36, with Iona Glover rounding out the grid in 38th position.
Oh, well done there. But I've just had a thought, and the reason we've got a few less because of course Moto Team will have their own race later on today, so that's why. So there are so it's just PitBikes out there, and that is going to mean that they can go hand for hand, fist for fist as they go down towards turn one. Rossi Banham trying to get as much temperature into those tyres to get some grip into turn one as they get ready for their first race of the weekend. Can it be Banham? Holmes-Williams alongside him as they get ready. Look to the lights and underway, and it's a good start from Banham. Around the outside into second position was Alfie Davidson, whose debut in the PitBike 140 is already sweeping around the outside of Richard Holmes-Williams into second position. Great start there from Alfie Davidson, behind everyone trying to filter into position as they go around Senna for the first time. Everyone looks as though they're on two wheels. Watch out for Jamie King. He started in sixth position. He's the championship leader. He needs to be picking up points. He knows. We've talked to him already so far this weekend. He said, I just need to be consistent, picking up points. He doesn't need wins. He just needs to be there and hoping to wrap up this championship.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I'm so impressed that all these bikes have managed to get around that first sector cleanly with no crashes whatsoever. But it is Rossi Banham who is leading away ahead of Taylor Lawrence now, who is up into second place ahead of Alfie Davidson. You can just see them trying to battle it out further up in the shot, and that is Taylor Lawrence round the outside of Alfie Davidson there. And Taylor Lawrence looking like he's got something in the bag here, right on the back wheel of Rossi Banham, of course, a British junior super sport rider over in the BSB paddock. Eddie O'Shea also carving his way through on Richard Holmes-Williams. Eddie O'Shea, we're used to seeing him starting further back and still able to make his way to the front of the races, and it could very well be that we see that again today. Rossi Banham, though, it is that currently leads this race. Taylor Lawrence all on his back wheel at the moment. Jamie King's also in there. We know how quick he is in the wet. We've seen him pick up some real strong positions earlier on in the wet, but that's the number 333 who's gone down on the that's Scott Jewett who's gone down there. Really unfortunate for him on the not quite so PitBike looking PitBike, but that's Taylor Lawrence now into the lead of the race, and the number 10 Taylor Lawrence now has made a move on Rossi Banham and is leading this race, and they're just got pulling away now from the number 76 of Jamie King. But look at Eddie O'Shea, he's real menacing climbing through the screen, but that's Taylor Lawrence that's gone down at the final corner, the number 10 down and out of the rest of this race. He took the lead, but now is going to have to rejoin further back.
Oh, and he's going to have to watch everyone stream past as the field is still so close together. So that promotes King up into the lead as he's just got around the outside of Rossi Banham. So Jamie King now up into the lead of this one. So brilliant start for Jamie. After starting from 6th, he dropped a couple of positions off the line, fought back through, now up into the lead. We know that he likes these greasy conditions. He's done very well so far this season in them. And already Eddie O'Shea sends it on Rossi Banham, going up into the top end of the circuit. Eddie O'Shea from 11th on the grid into 2nd position. Jamie King's going to look behind him and think, oh, not you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen how many times Eddie O'Shea has managed to carve his way through the grid, and it's only been a couple of laps and he's already towards the front of this one. Of course, started down in 11th place in this one, so not as impressive as when he started right from the back of the grid, but still, like you said, earning that nickname that you gave him earlier on. But all over the back wheel of the number 76 of Jamie King, of course, the 2019 PitBike 140 champion. And you're going to be thinking this weekend he's going to be thinking more about the championship than getting one on Eddie O'Shea, but you'd like to think also that he's going to want to be racking up these wins as well, considering as he hasn't had as many as he would have hoped.
No, and he's got 3 wins on the season. One at Ella was his local track. He said it was very special, but he's just lost the lead to Eddie O'Shea. So O'Shea, British Talent Cup rider, now up into the lead of the PitBike 140 race, the first race of the weekend for them here at Red Lodge. And you can imagine that Eddie's probably just going to check out here, and Jamie King's going to have to hold off Rossi Banham, who he got past a few laps prior. But the top 3 have definitely made a bit of a breakaway ahead of Reece Stevenson. Alfie Davison now back to 5th position. We've got a rider having to get their bike restarted, so unfortunately people just getting caught out on the circuit here, and it's not going to help with such a congested circuit. You're probably going to find any issues going to drop you right to the back, exactly what happened to Taylor Lawrence.
Yeah, and right in the middle of the circuit there, so I was really lucky not to get collected by any other bikes coming through the shot. But that is now Eddie O'Shea who is leading this one by quite some distance now. It was 0.9 of a second last time across the line. What will it be this time? Rossi Banham looking menacing on the back of Jamie King, looking further back at Reece Stevenson, the number 23 rider we saw was very quick back at Wilton Mill. Darren Anderson also in that battle, and Harrison Crosby right on the rear wheel of Darren Anderson. So this battle as well for 5th place, hotting up really nicely for 4th place rather, with Reece Stevenson, the number 23, currently leading these 2 guys. Harrison Crosby now up the inside of Darren Anderson, so a brilliant move there from Harrison Crosby to get up into 5th place in this race, and now his sights are going to be set on Reece Stevenson just in front, the number 23 with the white lid. Then they're not too far away from lapping some back markers in this race as well now, as they just come up to some slower traffic. They make their way through nice and cleanly, no problem for any of these guys, and that's something with such a big grid we're going to have to expect to see these guys making their way through on these riders.
Yeah, and that's it's not even the moto teams that we've seen in with the PitBikes one. This is just purely PitBike actions. We've got a yellow flag at turn 3, got another rider down being caught out by that treacherous turn 3 today as they try to get the bike restarted and back underway. But you can see riders getting caught out all over the circuit. It's getting very misty once again as we get just a fine mist of rain coming down, but it is still Eddie O'Shea who does the fastest lap last time around, a 53.3, comfortably faster than 2nd place, and championship leader Jamie King ahead of Rossi Banham. Reece Stevenson in 4th with Harrison Crosby in 5th. Darren Anderson in 6th position. Now watch out for Darren Anderson. He picked up 4 podiums on the season. He's been inside the top 4 in the last 5 out of 6 races. As down there goes another rider, and that's Nathan Riggy going down. 56, sorry, it's Darren Anderson. So after just saying that, there he is. Sorry, I was looking at timing screens, and it's the 56. So just after saying that Darren Anderson's finishing in the top 4, he goes down. So I do apologise, Darren, but we'll hopefully I'll keep quiet, and Eddie O'Shea should keep it on 2 wheels.
Yeah, don't jinx Eddie O'Shea as well now in this one. But just looking further back there, that is Eddie O'Shea coming up to some lap traffic. That's number 333 that we saw go down earlier on. But with a sizable advantage now has Eddie O'Shea, with 4 laps to go still in this race, for this race 1 for the PitBike 140s. And almost went to say and Moto Team there, but Moto Team will have their own race later on today. There'll be the last race of the day, and that'll be really exciting to watch. By attention now, and that's Rhys Stevenson who's out the race. He was in 4th place in this race, and now pulling to the side of the circuit with a problem there. So not what he would have wanted at all. Going well in this one, in 4th place, but now that promotes Nathan Riggy up into 4th, and Adam Sweeney now up into 5th as well, as Eddie O'Shea comes on to lap traffic here. You can see Callum Beach is in there, and a few other pit bike riders. So Eddie O'Shea having to come to terms with making his way through on a bit of lap traffic.
Yep, and unfortunately for Rhys Stevenson there, just holding his wrist, perhaps a little bit of a fall there. We'll find out from him later on, but Eddie O'Shea just carving his way through this traffic, and it's starting to get busy as all these front riders start to close in on some lap traffic, and some of the best of the British Talent Cup here at FAB this weekend, whether it be Casey O'Gorman in Extreme 200, whether it be Eddie O'Shea, Ryan Hitchcock, of course, plenty others out on track, and Johnny Garness, MKGP 70s we will see as well, so watch out for that one. But Eddie O'Shea leading this one now, extending that gap up to 3.5 seconds. Rossi Banham starting to close in on Jamie King. The gap was only half a second across the line, and Rossi, the rider from Southampton, is looking at stealing away Jamie King's 2nd place. But Jamie, I'm sure, will be quite happy. He's in this battle for 2nd position. They're 14 seconds ahead of Nathan Riggy in 4th position. So as Jamie said earlier on, he just needs decent points, and at the moment he's extending that gap up. Is currently with Charlie Nesbitt at Castle Combe Racing this weekend, unable to close in. It's 57 points to Rossi Banham. So not only is he adding more points to his championship lead, he's gaining some on Rossi.
Yeah, absolutely so, and that's exactly what Jamie King will want there. It will be a good 2nd place for him, of course, thinking completely about the championship, but it's not to say that he's going to have it all his own way, because we could see there that Rossi Banham is all over the rear wheel of Jamie King, and could very possibly be making up that position on Jamie King as we're on the last lap of this race. Taylor Lawrence has made his way back up into 6th place after crashing out of the lead earlier on, but it's going to be this man, Eddie O'Shea, already celebrating as he goes down into the final corner for the final time, comes on to the back straight, and it is going to be Eddie O'Shea that wins once again this weekend. Race 1 for the PitBike 140s goes to Eddie O'Shea. He won the Extreme 200s earlier on, and now he's won the PitBike 140s. Brilliant stuff from the number 8 of Eddie O'Shea. Jamie King takes 2nd, and Rossi Banham rounds out the podium. That's
a 2nd win on the season for Eddie O'Shea. Six times he's been on the podium. And but the battle is still going on behind. That's the 56 of that's 50. I'm trying to look at the timing screens as they come across. It is Darren Anderson that managed to get back up and underway after going down earlier on, and he comes across the line in 7th position. Nathan Riggy, really good result from him. The 59 into 4th place. Taylor Lawrence, after all the way to the back of the field, making his way back up to 6th. That's a really good ride back there from Taylor. He's going to be absolutely gutted with that, because obviously showing off some very good pace to get back all the way through the field up into a top 6. Yeah, brilliant recovery, but Eddie O'Shea, there was no stopping him in that one. You can see wheeling his way back into pit lane, and a brilliant win here, and that's exactly why riders like Eddie O'Shea, Rossi Banham come back to FAB after graduating through the ranks. They come back and come back and win some races, and there it is confirmed. Eddie O'Shea, who won the race ahead of championship leader and 2019 champion Jamie King. Rossi Banham in 3rd ahead of Nathan Riggy in 4th. Adam Sweeney took 5th ahead of Taylor Lawrence. Brilliant recovery up into 6th. Darren Anderson also recovering up into 7th place ahead of Marco Pandolfo in 8th. In 9th place it was Jack Andrews, and Elliot Crosby, brother of Harrison, in 10th. Richard Holmes-Williams, who's not managed to make it out to the grid, so he'll be having to start from the pit lane if he does manage to get out on circuit. However, the pit bikes, the 140s, there's a lot of them. It's very noisy, it's very loud, and it's a lot of fun. But it will be Rossi Banham on pole position, with Taylor Lawrence in 3rd position, with no Richard Holmes-Williams in 2nd. Alfie Davidson in his debut on the Pit 140s in the 4th place spot, with Rhys Stevenson in 5th, and Jamie King, champion of 2020, in 6th place. Bernie Herc in 7th, with Reese Peacock 8th, with Darren Anderson and Chris Wells in 9th and 10th position. Then you've got Eddie O'Shea back in 11th, and Jack Andrews in 12th. Marco Pandolfo in 13th, with Paul Histon in 14th. Adam Sweeney and Nathan Riggy in 15th and 16th. Then Elliot Crosby and Callum Beach behind that. Giorgio Scalata and Harrison Crosby. And then we've got Kevin Gritton, Iden Katz, Scott Jewett, Frankie Carlton, Andy Davidson, Roger Monks, Aston Gilson, Paul Coombs, Jamie Whalen, and Iona. That's the end of the grid. So yeah, it's a big grid. I'm trying to figure out where everyone is on circuits. It's always a mishmash here in the PitBike 140s, but it's a lot of fun as they come around to filter into position. There's a lot of standing water on the circuit now, Trystan. Is that going to hurt these riders that perhaps didn't see as wetter conditions yesterday?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of standing water out on this track, and it's not something that they will have seen so far this weekend. It's always been wet, but never quite been soaked as this for these guys as they look to the lights for this race too. Rossi Banham is on pole position, and he gets a good getaway here down into turn one, and there's a big incident off of the line. That's a few riders down. That could be really dangerous for these guys. I think that's Reece Peacock in there, and a couple of other riders gone. I think that's Darren Anderson as well. It is the number 56 that's gone down in that battle, in that clash as well. So that was quite a scary moment there for those guys, but it's good to see them all up and okay as Reece Peacock, the number 29, gets restarted and back into this race. Yeah, and it looks as though we've got Harrison Crosby off to the side of the circuit as well. So Harrison with a problem with the bike, but not a great start for those riders, but great to see them back up on their feet and underway. But up in the lead of this one, it is still going to be Rossi Banham, who's had a really good start. Can he hold off the likes of Taylor Lawrence, Alfie Davidson and Jamie King, your 2020 PitBike 140 champion? Jamie goes well in these conditions, and in fact he's closing in, trying to push for the race lead. So Rossi Banham has got a lot of people behind him, desperately wanting to get past. Eddie O'Shea has already made his way up from 11th right onto the back of this four-way battle for the lead. You can see 76 of Jamie King has put the number 1 on the front of his bike to celebrate the fact that he's won a second championship in the PitBike 140s. Yeah, and what a deserved championship it has been. But look how menacing Eddie O'Shea is. You can see Harrison Crosby at the side of the circuit trying to get that bike restarted and back into the race. But look how menacing that Eddie O'Shea is in this one, right on the back wheel of Jamie King, and just has a look at the inside, has to sit it up there because no room through on the number 1 of Jamie King, your 2019 and 2020 PitBike 140 champion. But Rossi Banham is that still leads ahead of the number 10 of Taylor Lawrence. Jamie King in third, but Taylor Lawrence having a look up the inside of Rossi Banham. Can he make a move? Stick it to turn 1. He does. He pushes Rossi Banham wide, and that's Rossi Banham down from first into third into fourth in one foul swoop, and Eddie O'Shea now up into second place in this race. Brilliant stuff here from the front guys, elbow bashing, bar bashing, and we hope to see this for the rest of the race. Taylor Lawrence now is then that leads ahead of the number 8 Eddie O'Shea, your championship winner, number 76 or the number 1 of Jamie King in third. And now Rossi Banham's just lost a little bit there, so perhaps just a little bit baffled by that. Yeah, as Eddie makes his way up into the lead of this one, and all the way from 11th into first position in just a matter of laps. And I called him Eddie Overtakes yesterday because he just makes his way and he makes it look effortless, and very much the ultimate opportunist is Eddie O'Shea. Past Taylor Lawrence, past Jamie King and past Rossi Banham. Rossi Banham probably thought, what just happened going into turn 1? Passed by 3 bikes. He's found himself from the lead of the race into 4th position. But Jamie King, your 2020 PitBike 140 champions, currently in a podium fighting with Rossi Banham for that 3rd position. He's going to want to close in on Taylor Lawrence. Of course, Taylor Lawrence, who went down in the early stages of yesterday's first race of the weekend and managed to come back through to 6th position. However, Jamie King stayed on 2 wheels and picked up another good result. And we've got a rider down there on the exit of turn 3. Once again, it's a corner that's catching out so many. That's Giorgio Scalata on the 87 that's been caught out at turn 3. Another bike that has fallen foul of a very tricky corner, it's seeming. But you can see Jamie having a quick glance behind, trying to work out where Rossi is. Rossi, who's ended the season much better than what he started with, where he was a little bit stop-start. However, he's pushing himself towards the top end of the standings now. But Eddie O'Shea at the front is breaking away. He's already got himself a 1.8 second advantage over Taylor Lawrence in second, and then Jamie King 2.7 back from them. Yeah, and looking further back at Marco Pandolfo battling out with Elliot Crosby in there, and also the number 555 of Paul Histon, also Adam Sweeney in 8th. So this is the battle for 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. Going on here is Marco Pandolfo and the number 555 of Paul Histon get really close going into turn 2. Brilliant stuff from these guys. So battles all through this PitBike 140 class, and we're so used to seeing that as Marco Pandolfo tries to go around the outside of Paul Histon. Can't quite make a move stick there, but now Elliot Crosby is in there as well and trying to make a move stick on the number 11, or number 21 rather, of Marco Pandolfo. You can see there with the Italian flag on the in that number 21 he has on the front of that PitBike 140. A rider from Catania, which is also where my family are from.
Yeah, and picked up his best result of the season back at Ella Park, where he finished in 4th position, which is good to see because Marco was beset with so many technical incidents and problems with the bike earlier on in this season. So he's getting back on the pace as Marco Pandolfo and fighting in the top 10, which is where we like to see him. But up at the front of this one, it's still Eddie O'Shea leading from Taylor Lawrence. Rossi Banham now has passed Jamie King for 3rd position. So your championship winner for 2020, Jamie King, has dropped out of the podium contention. Rossi Banham moving up, and we'll see if Rossi can close in on Taylor Lawrence. But Eddie O'Shea last time around going considerably faster than anyone else, a second faster than anyone else on circuit. So Eddie looking very, very, very strong. And in fact, he's starting to put some lap traffic in between himself and the fighting pack behind. So this is the perfect scenario for Eddie, looking at picking up another win in this PitBike 140 class.
Yeah, we've seen, and that's Elliot Crosby at the side of the circuit. So disaster for Elliot, of course, brother of Harrison Crosby, who we also see in these races. Tries to get that bike restarted, a little wheelie as he gets that bike restarted, does get back into this race. So not what Elliot Crosby would have wanted at all, but we've seen time and time again how the number 8 of Eddie O'Shea is just so good at carving through riders, carving through traffic. We've seen he comes up from the back of the grid, comes up to win races, and when he gets up to this lap traffic, he's just able to get through it faster than anyone else, and that is why he has a 2.6 second lead over Taylor Lawrence in 2nd place. Rossi Banham, though, not far from Taylor Lawrence at all, so that battle for 2nd place could be hotting up really nicely. So that's Lawrence in 2nd and Banham in 3rd in this one. Your 2020 champion Jamie King in 4th in this one, and just as Eddie O'Shea makes his way underneath Elliot Crosby there, so Eddie O'Shea out the front in this one now has a 3.2 second lead over Rossi Banham, who is 3rd in this one, and he just looks so confident out there. He's just throwing the bike into these corners, plenty of lean angle, just scraping that knee along the floor, and you can just tell he's got so much confidence in that bike, and of course is a British Talent Cup rider, so you wouldn't expect any less as Taylor Lawrence just carves through the pack as well. There you can see Rossi Banham in the back of the shot trying to close in on the number 10 of Taylor Lawrence, but with 3 laps to go he's really going to have to put the afterburners on.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do because Eddie O'Shea has really started to pull away at the front of this one. Rossi Banham has got 1.5 second gap between himself and Taylor Lawrence. Taylor having a much better race today than he had yesterday, so we'll see if Taylor can hold on to this podium position. It was the first time he'd stepped on the podium back at Rao with his first win. It moved him to 4th in the title race, however that's now been stolen away by Eddie O'Shea, who's actually at the moment we're on a 100% win rate with every race that he's been involved with so far this weekend, both the Extreme 200s and the PitBike 140. So he's going to make it 4 from 4 if he can make it around the final 2 laps. Of course, he's just got a little bit more to do. We've got a rider off to the side of the circuit. That's Reece Peacock on the 29. That's once again we can see a lot of these pit bikes struggling out there on these conditions, and Reece off to the side of the circuit manages to get the bike restarted and back underway. We've got a lap and a half left to go as Eddie O'Shea is about to start his final lap of race 2 of the PitBike 140s, in the lead by a comfortable margin to Taylor Lawrence, who rounds the final corner at Paddock Bend. Then you've got Rossi Banham, who has dropped Jamie King. Jamie King's decided to not be involved in this fight. He's now fighting off the likes of Jack Andrews and Reece Stevenson in 5th and 6th position. But Eddie O'Shea, what can you say about this young man? Brilliant riding in these tricky conditions.
Yeah, absolutely so. And you have to say what wins it for him in these races is just his ability to get through lap traffic, and with such a packed grid 29 PitBike 140 riders out there, it's inevitable that he's going to come up to a bit of lap traffic, and he's had more than a bit of lap held traffic in this race too for the PitBike 140s, and he's just been so good at the front of this race, coming up from 11th on the grid and looking comfortable to take this victory. He signals to the side of the circuit as he comes through the final corner and comes up to take the checkered flag. It's going to be Eddie O'Shea that wins race 2 for the PitBike 140s. Brilliant win from 11th place on the grid for Eddie O'Shea. Taylor Lawrence is going to come around the final corner and pick up 2nd place, and it's going to be Rossi Banham, Junior Supersport rider, who picks up 3rd. Jamie King, your 2020 champion, in 4th.
Brilliant result for Jamie King. Manages to, although he didn't finish on the podium, here's your 2020 PB 140 champion once again. Brilliant. Well done to you, Jamie King. There's a reason why you've put the number 1 on that bike, and you are the champion once again here in 2020. And he held off the fight from Charlie Nesbitt, from Rossi Banham, Taylor Lawrence, Eddie O'Shea, and the entire paddock here at in the pit bikes. But he's done a brilliant job so far this season to be picking up consistent podiums, consistent wins, and he's of course picked up 3 wins on the season. 1 back at Ella, his local track, which he said was very special. But Jamie, just visor up, just taking it in. You can see Rossi Banham trying to get a shoulder down there on the exit of turn 9 as they go into the S's section towards the end of the lap. So Rossi celebrating another podium for him in the pit bikes.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Rossi Banham. Just trying to get his elbow down in the wet there. That would be really impressive if he managed to make that one work. But there he is, and 2020 PitBike 140 champion, and he's going to come round to do his celebration lap. He's been at the front of this championship all of this year, of course, last year's champion as well. He goes on to complete his celebration lap. He has had wins in the wet. He's had podiums. He's waving at the cameras. He looks happy with that one. The PitBike Sonic of Jamie King, taking his time around this celebration lap, and fair play to him, because he's just enjoying and soaking in all of the glory here. He's taken the shortcut around here. He's doing the sidecar lap around here, but he waves to the fans, to all of the paddock here at FAB-Racing, and he is your 2020 PitBike 140 champion, and such a deserved championship it was.
Yep, 3 wins, 11 podiums, and Jamie King is your 2020 PitBike 140 champion. Congratulations to the Blue Blur of the FAB-Racing paddock, and a big member of the paddock here, does a lot for FAB-Racing behind the scenes with social media as well. So it's great to see Jamie getting the reward from that. So yeah, congratulations goes out to Jamie King. Jamie King back on the 76. He's put the number 1 on the front of that bike for this day's racing here, to signify to everyone else that he is very much your deserving champion. The 76 is a lovely guy, and well deserved for Jamie King. Looking very, very focused there. He wants to finish on the podium. He wants even more. He wants to win on this one, but he's got to get past Rossi Banham, who starts on the pole position, with Richard Holmes-Williams in 2nd position, Taylor Lawrence and Alfie Davidson in 3rd and 4th position, with Reece Stevenson, then your champion Jamie King in 6th, Bernie Hook in 7th, with Reece Peacock 8th, with Darren Anderson and Chris Wells rounding up row 5 in the top 10. Eddie O'Shea back in 11th position, with Jack Andrews in 12th. Then we've got Marco Pandolfo, Paul Histon and Adam Sweeney, with Nathan Riggy alongside him on row 8. Elliot Crosby and Callum Beach, with Giorgio Scalata in 19th and 20th position. Then we've got Harrison Crosby, Kevin Gritton and Aidan Katz, with Scott Jewett, Frankie Carlton, Roger Monks, Andy Davidson and Aston Gilson, with Paul Coombs, Jamie Mallin and a transponder number that I can see without a name next to it.
Yeah, can I just say it was a brilliant job for you to read through that grid, with a few of the Moto team riders dotted onto that grid that aren't actually on this grid. So for you to be able to skip over those names is an impressive one, Gareth, because of course Moto team will be having their own race up next. But out on the grid then is Rossi Banham on pole position. Will he be able to convert that into the final win of the season in the PitBike 140 category? Of course, this championship already wrapped up by the number 76 of Jamie King, and that is 2 championships on the bounce for the number 76. Of course, your 2019 PitBike 140 champion, and now your 2020 champion as well. Some delays on the grid as they look further back, but now their eyes will be to the lights for this final race for the PitBike 140s. The lights are on and they are out, and they're down into turn 1 for the final time this year. Rossi Banham it is who takes the last hole shot of the year. It was Jamie King who was looking really menacing there in 4th, trying to make his way up into 3rd, and he does. Up into 3rd place it goes Jamie King, and that's a rider down there at turn 2. So that's not the way you want to be ending your season at all. But back to the front, it is Rossi Banham. That's Jamie King, your champion, who's gone down. That is the number 1 of Jamie King, down and out of this race. Disaster to the start of this final race of the year for the PitBike 140s.
Yep, Jamie getting back underway, just about managed to stay in this one, but a lot of work to do if he's to claim a decent result in this one. You can see changes for position all throughout the grid as everyone tries to filter into the right slot. Eddie O'Shea's made some really solid moves earlier on in this one. He's starting to move forward. Harrison Crosby wanting to be doing the same thing as well, and that's the 5.76 there of Chris Wells that's gone down. So unfortunately going down on the exit of the S's section, which is something we've seen too often this weekend. So obviously the track's still catching out some of these riders, but across the line it's Taylor Lawrence from Eddie O'Shea and Rossi Banham. So Reece Peacock doing very nicely indeed as well. So Reece Peacock moving up into 4th position.
Yeah, Giorgio Scalata was just on the side of the circuit on the exit of the final corners, managed to get back up and restarted, however. But Taylor Lawrence now ahead of Rossi Banham and leading this race. It's going to be a battle between these two. Their mates off of the circuit. Now they're set to battle on circuit. All over the rear wheel of Taylor Lawrence is the number 196 of Rossi Banham. Of course, rider over in the BSB category, in the BSB Championship in the Junior Supersport category, and is going to be looking to be wildcarding at the final race of the British Talent Cup at the end of this year at Brands Hatch as well. But it is Taylor Lawrence who is leading from Rossi Banham. Eddie O'Shea has now made his way up into 3rd place, and you're going to have to think Eddie O'Shea's looking real menacing, and he's definitely going to be a threat to these guys at the front. He's come up from 11th place on the grid. We're used to seeing that from Eddie. So of course, British Talent Cup rider all over the back wheel of Junior Supersport rider Rossi Banham now, and he's going to be looking to pick up the last win of the year.
Yeah, he wants a hat-trick here in the PitBike 140s is Eddie O'Shea, and he's currently in 3rd position behind Taylor Lawrence and Rossi Banham. Rossi Banham looking very racy behind Taylor Lawrence indeed. Watch out for your champion Jay King. He's fighting his way back through. He's back up into 11th position after dropping back down to 17th. So it's been a good recovery so far for Jay, but he's got a bit of work to do if he's to close back in on this battle going on between the top 3. Taylor Lawrence, Rossi Banham and Eddie O'Shea. In fact, Eddie O'Shea sweeps around and gets past Rossi Banham on that lap, and he's now closing in on Taylor Lawrence, and Rossi is not able to come back. Eddie O'Shea, in fact, Eddie looking very good indeed as he closes in on Taylor Lawrence. Taylor looking for another win, his first winning course he picked up back at Rara, but he's got Eddie O'Shea all in his peripheral. In fact, Eddie trying to go around the outside coming into the Warren. That's a move that we haven't seen, but you can see just trying to get on it and going down the back straight on that 140. Can it go down the inside? Eddie O'Shea does take the inside line. Can Taylor go back down the inside and get the cut back? No, Eddie O'Shea covers him off. So Eddie O'Shea from 11th on the grid into the lead after just 6 laps.
Yeah, I know they say you need to get the snapback on a rider when they come back in front of you, but a little too keen to get the snapback on Eddie O'Shea was Taylor Lawrence, but he's definitely going to be looking to try and return that favour as we have 4 laps to go in this race. Eddie O'Shea, loads of confidence as he chucks it into turn 1, and he already has a little bit of breathing space in this one. These guys stretching out ever so slightly at the front of this race, and it's looking as if Taylor Lawrence is just going with Eddie O'Shea at the moment, and they're just leaving Rossi Banham behind in these wet conditions. But it is Eddie O'Shea leading this one ahead of Taylor Lawrence and Rossi Banham. Reece Peacock in 4th, a good 4th place at the moment for Reece. Marco Pandolfo up into 5th place. That's a very good ride from him, and that's a rider down there. That's not the way you want to be ending your season, but they're trying to get back into this race, so very unfortunate for that rider. And Marco Pandolfo just losing a position to Darren Anderson there, tries to go back up the inside. Very close racing in this PitBike 140 class. Also Harrison Crosby in there as well, so a British Talent Cup rider also battling with these guys. Marco Pandolfo, and a brilliant move there from Harrison Crosby, tries to go up the inside of both of them, system. Can't make it stick though, so not quite as brilliant as I thought it would be, but a good drive onto the front straight and makes a move into turn 1. So that's Harrison Crosby up into 6th place now.
Oh, take a breath, take a breath. This is once again breathless stuff from the PitBike 140s. Marco Pandolfo looking to equal his best result of 4th, which he picked up at Ella Park 2 rounds ago. However, he's got Harrison Crosby for company, and equally he's got Reece Peacock, who's doing very nicely indeed just up the road. Darren Anderson looking very comfy in 7th position. So this battle is going to keep going. Eddie O'Shea's gapped Taylor Lawrence to 1.1 seconds. They've dropped Rossi Banham 2.5 back off them. Jamie King is now starting to get involved in this battle that you see, where it's involved. Well, it's got Marco Pandolfo, Harrison Crosby, Darren Anderson, and then of course plenty of others. Jack Andrews involved in that as well, Nathan Riggy. Jamie King, your champion for 2020, is starting to get on the back of this pack, and he's going to need to fight through. He's going to want to finish off the season in decent fashion. In fact, he gets up past Andrews into 9th position there, so good move from into 8th position. Sorry, so Jamie King starting to make moves after that fall very early on, which is something we've not seen from Jamie, mistakes like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, we haven't seen him crashing too much this year, but he's left it to the very final race to do it, and he's done it once he's already won the championship, so he's done it at the best possible time you could crash out of a race. But looking at this battle again, he's flying through this field. He's on this battle when this is the battle for 5th place in this race, with Harrison Crosby right at the front of this group, Marco Pandolfo and Darren Anderson battling it out in this one, and the number 14 there of Jack Andrews just getting caught up in the mix. Nearly on the grass is Jamie King, and Marco Pandolfo with a hand up, so perhaps a technical issue for him, but battles all the way through this field. You can see Callum Beach in there, also one of the British Talent Cup riders, but battles, like we say, battles all through this field in the PitBike 140 category. But it's Eddie O'Shea who's flying out the front once again, and now Jamie King up the inside and making his way through this grid, and he's just completely recovering from that crash he had earlier on.
Yeah, got past Jack Andrews on the final corner on that last lap and up into 7th position. So now next target is Darren Anderson on the 56 and Harrison Crosby on the 93 as they go down the back straight. We've got 3 laps left to go, about 2.5, as Eddie O'Shea is about to come around and start the penultimate lap, and he does. Eddie O'Shea leading this one comfortably by 2.7 seconds from Taylor Lawrence. Rossi Banham is in a comfy 3rd position ahead of Reece Peacock, who's having a good run in 4th place. Then you've got this battle between Harrison Crosby, Darren Anderson, Jamie King, Jack Andrews, Nathan Riggy, all fighting out over the top 5 finish. Eddie O'Shea, however, out there once again looking for this hat-trick of wins in the PitBike 140, doing exactly what we usually see from Eddie, being a little bit showboaty and flamboyant.
Yeah, flamboyant is definitely the word for Eddie O'Shea, and he's really enjoying it out there, and you can just see he's just enjoying his riding, getting his tuck in, getting his lean on in these wet weather conditions, and he's going to come on to start the final lap of the year for the PitBike 140s. It's been such a brilliant year for racing in the PitBike 140 category. We've seen all sorts of riders battling it out in this championship. Eddie O'Shea, Rossi Banham, Charlie Nesbitt, your champion Jamie King, Brad Ray at the beginning of the year. It's been a very exciting championship indeed, but it's going to be Eddie O'Shea who's looking comfortable to take the final win of the year in the PitBike 140s. Race 3 here at Red Lodge. He's just relaxing on this final lap. He's come up from 11th on the grid. He's done all the hard work. He doesn't need to put in any more work on this final lap as he comes on to the back straight for the final time. He's going to head down into the final corner for the final time this year. He waves to the fans and the family at the side of the circuit, comes onto the home straight for the final time. The final win of the year goes to Eddie O'Shea, who takes the flag. Brilliant win from Eddie O'Shea from 11th place on the grid. Taylor Lawrence in 2nd and Rossi Banham in 3rd.
Yeah, tells us he is number 1 as he comes across the line. Here's that battle going on for 5th position, and Jay King has got himself to the front of it. Jamie King, that dropped all the way back to 17th position, has fought through, got past Harrison Crosby on this last lap, comes around the final corner, and Jamie King picks up 5th position and is your 2020 PitBike 140 champion. he is, I'm sure, that is probably as much excitement as he wanted from this race. He fell to the back and he fought through. Fifth position is a brilliant recovery. However, Eddie O'Shea, who's been out there and enjoying it, this track that has been drying and drying and drying, he's allowed there to go out there and just have a little bit more fun. Got through from 11th on the grid all the way up into the top, and once again picks up another hat-trick of victory, something we've seen him do quite a few times so far this season as he pops some wheelies down the back straight there. And Jamie King, your 2020 champion for the PitBike 140s.
And what deserved champion it was. The number 1, you can see on the back of his leathers, celebrating in style, was the number 76 of Jamie King, two-time PB 140 champion. But it was Eddie O'Shea who won that one by almost 8 seconds ahead of Taylor Lawrence. Rossi Banham in 3rd, Reece Peacock in 4th. Jamie King, your champion, recovered up to 5th place ahead of British Talent Cup rider Harrison Crosby in 6th. Darren Anderson in 7th, Nathan Riggy in 8th, Jack Andrews down in 9th, and Paul Histon in 10th place, and rounding out your top 10.